You better be putting your battleships in place to be able to close. You better have the cash ready. You better have the lender lined up. While you're doing those, you also have to be putting all your ducks in a row to be able to, when you get an email with just 3 photos and a couple lines of text, that you can make an offer and feel confident.
This is the real estate investing experience. We get it. Real estate can be rough sometimes, and that's why we bring in the experts to talk about the experiences you won't hear anywhere else with your hosts, John Cohen and Chris Grinzik.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Experience. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Grinzik, and along with me, as always, is John Cohen. How are we doing, John?
I'm doing good. I got no complaints. It's a beautiful Tuesday, and I'm excited to kick this off.
There you go. Nice enough. We wish we were almost playing golf, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was what we said earlier. I wish I wasn't here, and I wish I was somewhere else. And a golf course wouldn't be a bad option.
What's the weather like in Columbus? Because we got the trip tomorrow for due diligence. Have you looked at it all or no?
I have not. Normally, I do check to make sure that our flight's gonna, not get delayed.
We should probably look at that.
We should. I do know that there is a major storm that they said was going to be in Chicago.
Okay.
Which is a little bit further west, but hopefully
it doesn't hit us.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't hit us. It's always great when you show up for due diligence and you don't have an umbrella and it's pouring rain.
Yeah, that would be brutal.
That's fun.
Yeah, we'll have to buy some ponchos, kick it like Disney style.
Exactly.
For sure. But I'm super excited. We got a really great guest on today. We hooked up probably about, 4, 5, 6 months ago just through Instagram, and he was doing some really cool stuff, and he's got a really interesting story. So I thought he'd be a really great person to have on. I did his podcast not too long ago, so I thought we had a pretty good conversation about my side of things, and I think this is going to be a really good platform for him to talk about kind of his come up, and he's starting to get into the multifamily space as well. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but without further ado, Anton, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on your podcast. And yeah, you were one of the first episodes, I think first 10 episodes or something like that. And yeah, just through Instagram.
I'm responsible for all your success.
All my multifamily successes.
There you go,
Chris. Yeah.
Tons of it.
No, but yeah, I think you DM me and it was like a really quick back and forth DM. And I was like, okay, let's just talk on the podcast. And, if it doesn't go well, I'll just delete the episode and nobody will.
There you go. I must have done something right then. It couldn't have been too bad.
Yeah, it was published, so it went well.
There you go. It was marginally published. It was a real. Yeah, but no, thanks for joining us. Why don't you, kick it off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started.
Sure. So my name's Antoine Martel. Been investing in real estate for 5 years now. Really, my story is I was born in Toronto, grew up in San Francisco, went to community college in the Bay Area, then transferred to LA to graduate university. I graduated college in 2017. While I was at university down here in LA, my brother dragged me and my dad to a real estate investing seminar about flipping houses. And we went to the seminar, learned about flipping houses, learned how much money you can make. And we're like, oh shit, we need to start doing this in LA. Quickly realized that with $50,000, it's really hard to invest in flip houses in LA, California, anything over here. So we were making offers for like $800,000 teardowns, and it was like, this is stupid. And getting really expensive hard money at 12% interest with 3 points. It's like, I don't even have enough money to pay the 3 points.
Yeah,
How am I going to do this? So made a bunch of offers, tried to put it together. After 6 months, it was just like, all right, this is an endless game of, placing offers and not getting anything back and then never having enough money. So started going to networking events, just hardcore networking, learning as much as I could while I was at university, moved all my classes from in the evenings from 5 to 10 p.m. All day I was hustling, going to networking events, meeting people on bigger pockets, just learning as much as I could because I didn't want to get a job after graduating.
Yeah.
And then I was meeting with these guys and they were investing out of state. They were flipping houses, buying rentals. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. You can buy a house now out of state for 20, 30, 40,000 bucks, renovate for 5, 10, 15. It's worth 60, 70, 80. Then I can do a refinance and pull all the money out.
Right.
So after about 1.5 years, 2 years of studying, just learning as much as I could about all the different ways to invest with very little money, I was like, all right, I need to go and try this. So I went to Memphis, Tennessee. My dad gave me $40,000. We bought a house. I rented it out, renovated it, put a property management company in place, then did a cash out refinance, pulled all the money out. And then it was coming time to graduate. And I was like, hey, I can keep doing this for the family and keep growing a portfolio for the family. Just pay for my rent or whatever, pay for my expenses for 6 months. Let me figure this thing out. And that's what I ended up doing. Graduated in May 2017. By the end of the year, we had 10 single family homes in our portfolio. And, then friends and family started to reach out to us. Hey, how can Antoine or how can you guys do that for us? We want to invest in real estate out of state. We only have 20, 50 grand. We can't buy some big apartment building, but we'd love to buy a duplex or single family home for cash flow, et cetera. That's how the turnkey business started. So we just started selling stuff out of our portfolio. We started buying properties just to sell to our clients and friends and family. That eventually made a website, and that kind of led us to where we are today, a couple years later, where we buy, rehab, and resell through the turnkey company over 100 homes a year.
That's awesome. And what have you been getting up to more recently?
Then I started going into multifamily just because now we had some cash available to get into some bigger projects. So we bought a 20-unit building back in December, increased the rents from $500 to $850. Just bought an 11-unit. Rents.
Whereabouts?
All those are in Memphis. The 2 apartment buildings that I currently own: 20-unit, 11-unit, all value add, huge renovations. And then just bought an 11-unit in Memphis as well. Both B-class neighborhoods, going to hold them both for the long term, I think. That one was value add too, increased rents from $450 to $725.
Yeah, it's really funny. And I think because you touched on it earlier, one of the reasons I think we clicked pretty quickly is we have very kind of parallel paths, especially in the beginning, because I started same thing, flipping course, my mom and my cousin, not my brother, because I don't have a brother. My sister wasn't interested. So she would have been involved, but she wasn't. And just same thing, tried to flip in a, high income, high expense, high home priced area. Didn't even flip one. It was the same type of thing, just roadblock after roadblock.
Yeah. And
we actually then looked for out of state. That's how I met John, just through networking. Like you said, now I was out of school. So I was, 3-4 years later than you were.
He was already a bum.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was working a full time. I was on to my 3rd job by that point, 2 years out of school. But it was the inverse. I was doing it at night instead of having a day job during the day. And, we met just through networking, and, he was moving away from buying tax deeds and single family stuff in Philly. And we went that route. We went and took a look, but instead of, kind of sticking into it and being like, hey, this is what we want to do, where we kind of diverged a little bit. We're like, fuck that. We're not doing this. We're like, this is too much work for, a $50,000 home or whatever. Cause it was, drive all day Saturday, check out all the properties on the list that are going to auction, and then offer on Sunday. And it was just, my mom flat out said, I'm not driving down. We drove one time. We went down once. And then me and my cousin went, and it was 12 hours. And we were like, this is super rough. We hated this. We came back and we were like bitching and moaning. But it was also, my cousin was about to have his first kid. He was already working 2 jobs. And I was, 24, 25 at the time. And,
I think less than that, probably 23, 24. 24.
I think 24. And I was enjoying my weekends at the time. I wasn't trying to spend all day Saturday and Sunday. It wasn't like why we got into it. So then moved on to, moved on to multifamily, and that's how we got started. But it's just funny, like how parallel the paths are. We got caught in the same pitch, basically, of flip homes in the area and make tons of money, and then quickly realized, okay, probably doesn't work on both coasts or the top 5 metros. So it's just funny.
But I see that happen all the time. I mean, I've gone to 1,000 events. I mean, I went to all those events too. I was at an event with a guy who has a TV show who, this was 3 years ago or whatever it was. My buddy had a ticket. And at this time we already had, 5 or 6 multifamily deals under our belt. So he's like, you want to come to this event with me? And I went simply to try and raise money. I'm like, all right, if I go to this event, I'm going to go to this event probably more educated than half the people sitting there. Yeah. And it was like 330 people in the room. And on accident, they had their computer up on the screen, and they accidentally put the wrong slide up, and it showed their schedule, and they had 3 events going on simultaneously in Miami, New York, Dallas, LA, in like major metros. Yeah. And at the end of their little pitch, he literally, it was like 250 people ran up to the back to swipe their credit card on a $25,000 program. I was like, holy shit, this guy's literally making $500,000. He's doing 3 of these at a time, but I'm sitting there like, this is crazy, but we've all been there. We've all sat through that class. I mean, it's a shiny object when you're first starting, especially, in California. I mean, half the shows are based in California. Yeah. And I have a buddy that, they have they're in a property management company called Pinnacle. And they do it. They flip houses. They flip like probably 20, 30 houses a month in Ohio and in other areas, because they don't even think of getting involved in California, but they live in Hermosa Beach.
Yep.
So it's just, but there's so many of those events, and it's just nuts, because I know I've been there, you guys have been there, and I know the stories, and you hear the war stories, and you're like, damn,
I know.
If I knew now, I probably have a class and I would be doing the same thing. But it's funny.
Yeah, no, there's not many like beginner multifamily, because multifamily is such a hard nut to crack, right? So like my first build, I keep telling this story too. Like my first apartment building was the 20 unit, anything over 5 units was 20 units. And people, because I'll have phone calls with people who want to get into real estate. They have 20, 50 grand. And they're like, but I want multifamily. And I'm like, well, if you want multifamily at scale, you should get something 16 units or bigger. And I'm like, I bought in a tertiary market, and I bought a 20 unit for $1 million. I put 350 down and 200 grand in rent. I'm all in for 550 grand. Like it's a hard thing to break into. You can't just, I want a 20 unit. Okay. How much money you have? I have 50 grand. And it's like, well, you got to start small and slowly build up too. And a lot of people spend their last 25 grand or are 25 grand in debt with credit cards because they go join one of those courses.
Yeah. Exactly. He hears me say it all the time. I tell people all the time, you're better off go buy a single family house and lose 20 grand learning than paying someone to teach you not what to do, because they're going to teach you something that may not be in your market. And then next thing you know, you spend 20 grand on a coach. Now you're flying and you spend $1,000 for a flight and a trip and a ticket. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're into for 40, 50 grand when you could have messed the deal up. And you could have bought a cash and messed it up. Yeah. You could have learned more doing it that way than paying someone. But paying someone's a bad thing, but have a foundation of some sort first. That's what I believe personally.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you choose Memphis? Because I think that was probably the first ones. Like, you're flipping homes or trying to flip homes, and you're banging your head against the wall. What was the thought process that led you to going out of state, single family?
Yeah, so we wanted to do rental properties, right? So and single family home rentals, just because the buying point was super low. So we did a bunch of research, just like, everybody says, job growth, population growth, looked at the major employers. There wasn't much job growth, wasn't much population growth. It was actually pretty stagnant and stable. But we liked that FedEx headquarters is there. And there was a couple communities right around the FedEx headquarters and Memphis International Airport, which just had a bunch of properties where we can pick up for 30, 40, 50,000 bucks, and they just needed 10, 20 grand in renovation, that kind of thing. So those things, and also there was a bunch of big players that I was following that were already in that market. So I knew it was possible to scale something up. There's a lot of markets like Kansas City and Little Rock that are just way harder to break into. I felt like there was a lot of inventory just by looking at the deals on the MLS and looking at all the closings, that it was possible to build a scalable thing. Because my thing wasn't to buy one house and retire. It was to buy a house a month and scale something up. So it needed to be in a market where not only the numbers made sense and cash flow made sense and crime made sense, but also something that I had room for me to grow. And if I knew that if another company who was a turnkey company, pretty much doing just buying rentals, rehabbing them instead of refining, they were just selling them. I was like, they were buying 20 houses a month, and I was like, okay, if they can do that, I can just find some other neighborhoods and make it work too.
Yeah, for sure. So you didn't see a larger company doing it as owning the market and you have no shot. You said, hey, if they can do 20, I can do one.
Yeah, there was like 5 companies. One was doing 20 a month. One was doing 10 a month. One was doing 8 a month, all different neighborhoods. And I was like, holy shit. So there was a bunch of big players in there. And no, I didn't look at it as a threat or anything like that. It just made me open my eyes and say, okay, that now it makes it possible for me to get involved.
Now, see, that's a great point, right? When you talk about like selecting a market, I think that's the question that any new investor asks, like how, why. I'm speaking at an event on the 29th of July. Exactly that. It's how do you pick a market, or why out of state? I can't buy in state. So that's a great thing. If there's other bigger companies doing it now. When you were looking at deals, because some people may look at it, as Chris said, as a challenge.
Negative, yeah.
But if your expectation was, hey, these guys had to get, they're doing it on such volume and they have to hit bigger returns. Did you ever look at it and say, well, if they're doing it and they need to make 30% returns, I only have to make 20. So I could pick up the stuff that they don't, or they're not buying in this neighborhood because they're never going to get that return. So that's way to probably spin where the competition is.
That's how I did it. Exactly. And I was like, I'm by myself. I have super low expenses. I have no overhead, no staff. I'm like, I can go and buy the same fucking house and make an offer 10, 15 grand more, take a lower spread and beat them every single time. It's the deals are out there. I can take a lower margin. Because before this, I was, back in growing up, I've always been an entrepreneur. So a big thing for me was actually importing from China and selling on Amazon, eBay, blah, blah, blah. And for me, it was always just a numbers game. So I would see a product in China and I would see people selling it on Amazon for $20. And I was like, well, I can sell it for 17 and just be this listing number 2 and sell all day long. So for me, it was the same thing. I'm going to follow the big player, see what they're doing. Okay, they buying 20 houses a month. They must have a huge staff. I can just undercut them and win every single time.
Exactly. And then you knew, getting a foothold in a market is so important, where if you could start smaller, similar to, we were very opportunistic for the last couple of years, buying the deal that made sense as long as the economics of the market were good.
Yep.
But then now, where we are in the market, who knows, there's signs to point in all different directions. We wanted to be laser focused in certain areas to build scale. Once you start putting that together, you wanted to buy 1 a month, they wanted to buy 20. You're 1 a month, you get market share, not market share quickly, but you knew that your low overhead, you could compete with them. And where, this stuff that they might not be able to do because it doesn't make sense, it falls right into your lap and you're a great alternative. And you could probably be very competitive on deals that they miss. Maybe they miss it or maybe it falls apart and you could come in a little bit higher or maybe even a little bit lower after time because you can execute. And there's not that, bureaucracy, where you have to go through the whole thing. So that's, it's a great piece of advice for anyone listening is, on the market side, it's not always, I tell people all the time, real estate, you don't have to be the trailblazer to make millions of dollars. It's nice to be the trailblazer, but as long as you're as long as you're doing it, whether you're at the end of the wave or the beginning of the wave, you got to pick a different approach, but it gets you there. And that's a perfect example of, there are 5 huge players in this market. I don't, they're doing it. I can do it because I know I can buy one.
Yep.
And then when you were going to these markets, because we get asked this all the time, I'm sure you do as well, but always good to reiterate, building a team, how was that? What are some things that you can pass on to someone else listening just to make their life a little bit easier? What are some lessons you learned, things with that?
Yeah. And for me, the most important thing was property management. So, I think just people are scared to put in the time and the effort. So before building my team, I had probably called 250, 200 just agents in Memphis. I had no idea what I was looking. I had never done this before. I was just like, I'm going to talk to anybody who will answer the phone. And I was like, well, realtors probably have some knowledge. I was wrong. So after calling 200 of them, finally found somebody who was good, who, understood what a real estate investment was. They had a connection to a property management company, called that company, called all the other property management companies in the market. It was really just a cold calling game and having the right pitch down and being able to, over time, vet that person very quickly over the phone to know if they knew what the hell they were talking about, if they could handle what I was trying to accomplish. So for me, I would look for property management company was the most important piece because they're going to handle the deal. Like, I'm going to own the deal for a couple of months, but then, the next 27 years or 30 years, is going to be in the property management's hands to manage and maintain the property, et cetera. So for me, property management's very involved throughout the whole entire process. So, they would also give me referrals to contractors, give me referrals to realtors, give me referrals to inspectors. Many of these companies have been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, managing properties, managing doors in the neighborhood. They know everybody already. So I don't need to go and vet a bunch of contractors. They've already vetted them and they're using those contractors to maintain their properties because they're not going to hire, Joe Blow to go and renovate a house. They're going to hire, somebody who they know is going to do good work to do the work on that property. So for me, it was after I refined my system, I stopped calling the realtors. It was a waste of time. And I just started calling property management companies. I tell people to go to Google and download a list of what questions should I ask a property management company, and then download that list and then ask those questions to the property managers.
Yeah. I know, even on the, multifamily side, it's kind of mind blowing that people can't really figure that out because it seems pretty basic. It's, just pick up the phone and call people. But I think nobody just really wants to do that anymore. I try calling friends and they just hang up and text me back. But I mean, for us, you just go on, apartments.com or apartment guide and you just start calling places, or sometimes even have the logos in the corner. And most of the times they'll answer with their property management name, or you just ask them and just have a conversation, direct you to the corporate website, and just call 5, 10, 15, 20 different ones until you find the one you like. And then you just try it. And if it goes well, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. Did you, when you were calling, was there any that you decided to go with and ran into issues and made a change, or you just, got lucky, I guess, and it was
it happens.
Match made in heaven.
Happened once. I had built a team in Memphis. Everything was going super smoothly. Got 10 houses. I was like, holy shit, this was easier than I thought. And then went to Cleveland, did the same thing. I flew to Cleveland, all I did was meet with property management companies every single day. They drove me through the neighborhoods. And it was kind of like whoever I vibed with the most, had the best relationship with, who I felt like I can, text them at 9 p.m., right? Like that kind of person that I was looking for. Not somebody who was like, 60 or 70 years old and was on their way out, right? So that's kind of what I was looking for when I went to Cleveland.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. We'll just edit it out. And then, so I went to Cleveland and started building the team there. And all I did was meet with property management companies. I would just meet with a different one every single day. They would drive me around, et cetera. And then I built that team, started doing deals there. And then, everything went perfectly smooth as well. And then I was like, oh, I'm the best team builder in the world. So then I was like, on my high horse, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Akron now. So I just called like 3 property management companies, asked the same list of questions. I was like, all right, this lady's good. Then I was like, all right, it's time to start making offers, made offers, put a house under contract, bought it, started renovating it, and then quickly realized that the lady had no fucking idea what she was doing. Luckily, the team in Cleveland is like 45 minutes from Akron. So my Cleveland team actually went to Akron to figure out all the bullshit. But that kind of humbled me down a little bit and made me I'm glad it happened, because it made me take things a little bit slower and focus on the markets, double down on the markets that were already working, and try to figure out, instead of expanding horizontally, just going more vertical and diving deeper on, okay, how can I get more deals? How can I make more offers, analyze more, to double down on my markets?
What do you think it was from Akron to Cleveland and Memphis? Was it, that it's a smaller market? Was it just the person you chose? Was it, just a less population? What do you think it was that made it not successful compared to the other two?
No, it was definitely the team. The team is going to make or break your, if I went to like Little Rock, where it has which is very hard for me to find any deals there. Like I tried to get into Little Rock and other markets like that were super popular, like at Dallas, Texas, or something like that. If I had a killer team that was already doing deals and I went and was able to build rapport with them, I mean, I can start a turnkey business tomorrow. But it's hard to find like that person on the ground who's going to give you the deals, manage the contractors, be a good property management company. So it's all about the team, because now my team on the ground, my property manager, realtor, whatever that I've been doing business with for the last couple of years, they're giving me just all their pocket listings now. So I don't even
for sure
make offers on the MLS all the time, but they're feeding me 5-10 deals a month, and we're buying those things as well. Right. So just with time, that's why it's like, if somebody goes into my neighborhoods now, they're not going to be able to get anything, because all the pocket listings are just going to me, and there's some stuff on the market. Right. But we're buying a lot of stuff off market now, and that just takes time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we say it all the time for, the multifamily space as well. If you're trying to go into a new market, I would almost guarantee the first call you have with a broker, he's going to send you a deal. It's going to be dog shit or overpriced or both. Yep. There's just no way your first call, he's just going to send you something that's like, oh, this is the one. It's very rare. Unless, now when, we're at a kind of certain established,
place.
Place. Yeah, that's a better word. Not as much, but you still get the junk that people are trying to sell right then. That's been listed or it's been on the market for a while, and it's just probably not going to be the one for you. So once you start, it's probably going to take, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 deals, depending upon, the size of the deals you're looking at, until you start really getting the ones that, they're weeding you out. They're trying to feel you out, just like you're trying to feel them out. And I think a lot of people they get that first deal, they either buy it and they overpay, or two, they look at it, they go, this is shit. I'm never calling this guy again. He's terrible. And that's just, sometimes it's the case. Yes, not every broker or every agent is the best or understands what you're looking for. But more often than not, it's kind of like a mini test, or just, they've got to sell this deal. So they've got to find someone. So if, they're going to try to sell that to you and just kind of see how it shakes out. And I'm sure
they sent it to all their top 10 list of VIP buyers who have worked with them in the past already.
Exactly.
They all said, no, now you're getting the deal.
Exactly.
And I mean, for me too, like, to touch on that point, it took me to find that 20 unit building. It took me 9 months I built a list went to LoopNet, took every single broker's name and phone number, put them on an Excel spreadsheet, and put them on a 14-day loop to call them every 14 days and email them. And I was like, hey, by the way, it's me again. I'm looking for this, this, and this. Hey, by the way, it's me again. I'm looking for this, this. And just kept following up with them. And then after 9 months, then people were like, okay, this kid's legit. Let me give him something to shut him up.
Yeah, exactly.
So
not going away.
Yeah. And then they gave me a deal, and it was just like, 3 text sentences. And it was like, here, you have to make an offer before we'll send you any financials. And I was like, okay, my offer is $1 million. And they sent me the financials, and the deal ended up working. But, it's little things like that. And the follow-up is key. And if you expect to send one email and make one phone call or text message and get the deal of your life, something's wrong.
That ain't going to work.
No, for sure.
It's so true. I tell people all the time, you got to be, when you start, you're going to get crap. Like you said, it's already been shown to 100 people. So there's a reason why it's not sold yet. Be honest. So tell the broker why it doesn't work, or tell them why, hey, you thought the renovation on a single family was, 20 grand. It's really 26 because you missed this, 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 and this, and that's 6,000. When the broker sees that, then they start, okay, you start moving up their list of, okay, this guy's credible. Simultaneous to that, you get a list of brokers on LoopNet, you call them, probably 3 of them probably call you back. Nobody cares. No one answers the phone. So you call someone once and they don't get back to you. It's like, you got to be persistent, and you got to, like I said, it took you 9 months. The first multifamily deal I had, it was off market through a direct mail, 6.5 months. So it's not something that happens overnight. And that's probably what a lot of these programs and everything out there is, hey, put a deal under contract in 30 days, make 50 grand. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe, but there's persistency and follow-up. And I think, your best deals are probably the ones that you followed up on 6 months later or 3 months later, whatever it is, because they're the ones that make money. It's not the deal you get, if they say yes right away, you're either overpaid or there's a significant problem that you're going to find in the near future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then after that, you got to fucking close too. So like, you spent all these 9 months, you better be fucking ready. So you better be putting your battleships in place to be able to close. You better have the cash ready. You better have, all that stuff ready to go, the lender lined up. So you got to, while you're doing those, you also have to be putting all your ducks in a row to be able to, when you get an email with just 3 photos and a couple lines of text, that you can make an offer and feel confident. So there's a lot of work before that goes into, we probably looked at 100 multifamily deals before even finding that first 20 unit in those 9 months.
And then, just continuing to move on, because we're obviously, primarily almost exclusively now in multifamily. What was the biggest difference that you found moving from, the single family, just, looking at multifamily stuff in a market you knew really well, and then, once you closed, and then now owning it for, several months? What's some of the stuff you've seen that's the biggest difference, or things, you wish you would have known beforehand, things of that nature?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, the biggest difference is just going to be your operating expenses. So like, for single family homes, I could tell you off the back of my hand what the operating expenses are going to be, right? But for a multifamily, everything kind of has to be written down. You have to do all the operating expenses because you have things that you have to pay for now, like exterior lights and security cameras and the dumpster and all that kind of stuff. Single family is beautifully easy because it's taxes, insurance, property management, debt service. That's it. Everything else is taken care of by the tenant, right? But once you get the multifamily space, and then there's those operating expenses, which are the biggest difference. But the beautiful thing about the multifamily compared to the single family homes is that, just the scalability makes things so much easier. And every single unit we renovate is renovated exactly the same way. So same we order 10 sets of appliances or 20 sets of appliances and order the same tile, and every single unit is renovated the same way. And it's kind of like clockwork. One tenant moves out of an old unit, it's renovated over the next 2 weeks, then put up for rent. And so it makes things way more easy, and it's all one address, right? So
yeah, exactly.
they don't have to drive around town and go collect materials. And we're a single family home. Are we going to change the floor or not? We don't have to answer or ask any of those questions anymore. It's the scalability makes things run a lot smoother. And also you just have the scalability and the cash flow now too. So, even if 5 units are vacant, 5 units were vacant last month and we still had positive cash flow. And it was kind of like, holy shit, this is, crazy, because we got those rental increases and stuff like that. Sure. So, yeah.
No, that definitely makes it much nicer than trying to put together 10 or 20 or 30 single family homes 20 miles apart in the same market. I'm sure it make significantly easier for, you to deal with headaches. I know that wasn't necessarily an easy lift and you had your own problems, but I'm sure it was easier than dealing with 20 different issues at 20 different addresses.
Yeah, that's true. And like the cool thing too is that the testing is a lot easier. So like if you're in single family, you're in a bunch of different zip codes, every house rent may be different. But for the apartment building, it was like, okay, we rented one unit for $850. That means all the other units, I can rent them out for $850. Now, if I do that same quality of renovation and stuff like that too. So that was something else that made just the math work way easier, because they're all in the same zip code, all under the same roof. And so it just made the math work way easier. If we can rent one unit for this, we can rent all 20 for this. And it's what the NOI is going to be. And then from that, this is what the building is going to be worth. Then after that, there's no appraisal or anything.
Yeah. You went from all the single family stuff in Philly to multifamily. Is there anything else that he touched on that you want to expand on or add to it?
Yeah, I would just say the easiest part, when I was buying a house in Philly, now I was buying taxis and it was delinquent taxes. So I had a lot of houses in the same area. Yeah, which was fun. And I used that as, the first executive summary I put together was, I'm going to buy 15 houses in the same zip code. And it was nice. But then you realize, you only got 3 of them at auction, and then you had 3 in another zip code. But I think the biggest thing, and that we talk about all the time, having 200 units in one space in one, on one lot, or 20 in, whatever the case is, when you're going to do a renovation, you can go buy 20 sets of appliances or 10 sets of appliances are the exact same amount, where it's just plug and play. It's so simple. There's no thought process and all, should I do black tile or gray tile or black countertop? Like there's no thought. We're doing this on the whole building and it's going to get it. And that's probably the best part of multifamily, where you're not, single family, you're catering to someone's specific interests. Here you're not. Yes, their interest on renting it, but after you do what you want to set out and do, your sale is not catering to the personality of an individual. It's like, well, I don't really like this front door. Like that's irrelevant. They don't care. They're buying an income. So if you could raise rents $300, you're going to get a huge pop on sale. That's what's just going to happen because the income's there and people buy those deals on income. So, you touched on a lot of the stuff that, that I looked at right away. It's just having 48 units as my first deal, one spot is just so much easier. You're going to do a tour of market. You're going in, seeing the property, and you can go home. You don't have to go drive around, sit in traffic, miss appointments, have a meeting, go to Home Depot, get a faucet for this. And then you go to your next house, realize you need something else. It's a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Sure. So are you using the same management company or did you change?
We still using the same property management company in Memphis that manages our single families. We're in the process of getting a building in Cleveland, Ohio. That'll be our first one there, 20 units as well. And that one, the property management company manages some multifamily there. So we'll be using them as well. It's for these smaller ones, I think they can handle it. If I'm doing something like you guys, then it's going to be need to change. But I think for now, for this size, I think that the residential property management can handle it.
For sure. How have they been doing it?
They've been doing really well. She likes it. So in Memphis, the lady who runs the property management company, she's never managed apartment buildings before, but she's killer. She's amazing with the tenants and the way that she does business and manages the clients, et cetera. So I would just prefer to give her a shot. And even if she fucked up, 3-6 months down the line, I can go and find another company anyways.
Right.
But she's been doing a great job. And been blowing it out of the park.
And now from her standpoint, she probably loves it. 20 doors in one place is better than going run around like a chicken without a head, going to check out 20 properties. So she, I'm not, everyone's different but she probably puts a little bit more effort there because she knows that, wow, if he buys a couple more of these, my life gets a little bit easier because I don't have to go manage, 57 different properties making $50 a month or whatever it is. This is one spot. So, it's something that, but you're right. Would you use it for a 200 unit? Maybe you can give her a shot in some way, shape or form. But I do agree with that. Those residential managers, they could probably handle 20, 30, 40, maybe 50. And they could probably do it better than some of the big groups because the big groups, they're used to full-time staff and full-time maintenance and they might not be able to run a smaller deal efficiently, where a single family person is used to the inefficiencies. So they probably do really well, especially someone that knows what they're doing. She can, really roll up her sleeves and it probably benefits her more than you even think because it's one location. It just makes life easy.
Yeah, and it's been running super efficient, like scary efficient. Like I was looking at the operating expenses and it was like close to 30 or 40% and it's running super efficiently and very cheaply. So I think that her from moving over to from single family homes to multifamily, I think she's been running things very slim as well. And we've been able to have the OpEx super low.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys have been doing a ton of repairs, so I'm sure that helps keep things super low. Did you ever close on that deal that we were talking about? I forget.
No, they backed out. They wanted 1.7 million and they were supposed to be making $200,000 a year in income. I go look at their tax returns the last 2 years and they're telling the government they're making $100,000 a year. So I was like, well, little big difference because they were collecting all cash. She just wasn't reporting it. One month they make $16,000. The next month they make $3,000. And then the next month after that they make $14,000. And I'm like, lady, how did you clear the whole building and renovate it again and re-rent it out for all cash? Like you're smoking something. So she was taking cash out. And then I was like, well, I can only get the loan based on the tax return. So there's not much I can do. My offer goes from 1.7 to $1 million bucks. And then she was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll buy it for 1.7. You hold a position, you seller finance me the $700,000. I'll pay 1.7. And then she said no to that too. And I was like, all right, well, there's not much. That's the best offer you're going to get from anybody. So good luck.
Did she have debt on the property at the time?
No, she bought it for $300,000 30 years ago. She owns a ton of stuff.
She wouldn't take that. That seems like, that's a pretty solid offer.
I know.
You can hold a note for $700,000 for.
I'm doing that. So we've been diving into the mobile home space a little bit. It's an interesting space, and that comes up all. They're there's my lot rent. This is what I'm collecting, and they said in the tax returns, it's like, you told me it was $100,000 in income. It's 34. It's like, well, these 8 tenants pay, cash. And I'm like, yeah, but that same exact situation. And you're putting these creative offers out there and they look at you like you're crazy. They're like, in that space, it's, I'm 60 years old. I don't want to deal with it if you mess it up. The building, if you mess it up, she may lose $700,000 if the bank takes it back. So that could be one of her thoughts. Yeah. But even still, $300,000, she's owned it for 30 years. She should take 500 and run.
She's getting $1 million, and then she would have gotten left 700.
That's what I'm saying. No doubt.
I thought it was a good deal.
Yeah. Did she understand what it was or not really?
Yeah, she did. But I think she had some family situation where she wanted the cash over the thing. And I'm like, well, lady, nobody's going to give you the cash because nobody can finance it like this. And everybody's going to want Freddie Mac at that price point. And nobody's going to get hard money to finance your damn thing or a bridge loan for that. Because it was
it's not a lot of bridge loan.
It was expensive. It's expensive bridge money.
Yeah. Exactly. And it was in like an up and coming, it wasn't like a well-developed area or anything like that yet. It was a long-term play too. So like no investor would have taken that risk to get a bridge loan at 9% or whatever to hold it over.
So was that through a broker or off market again?
That was, it was listed on the market for like a year, 2 years. Nobody bought it, obviously. And then there was a price reduction and then it was sent to me when it was taken off the market. And I was like, well, it's been on the market for 2 years. I made a lowball offer at 1.5, I think. And then, the deal just didn't end up working out because the tax returns were way off.
Yeah. Are you going to try following up with her, see if you can get it?
No, I don't think so. I think she's past that. She's been trying to sell the thing for years, and I don't have a direct contact with her. There's been some through that deal though. There's been just through like working with a broker on that deal. That's how I got the 11 unit, and then I closed on the 11 unit. So now I have that trust and rapport with that guy, and then he has some more deals coming down the pipeline. So it all worked out in the end where, even that's goes back to the point we were talking about earlier, is like you have this relationship with the brokers. They send you deals, even though they may be shit and maybe, the tax returns are half of what they're telling you. Still work it out show the broker why the deal doesn't work, show them your numbers, show them what you're looking at. So they'll be like, oh, okay, this guy is actually taking the time. He's actually interested. That means he must have money that he's actually, looking to put into something. He's not trying to just waste my time and ask for deals and ask for me to analyze the whole thing for him. So literally
and
working.
Educated.
Yeah.
Educated people like working with people that are educated. They know what the banks, you take that to the, Freddie Mac and you're like, oh, I'm looking for 1.7. It's never going to happen, right? They're going to say you're crazy. But so you go back to the broker and say, listen, I love the deal. I pay 1.7, but this is what I'm going to get financing. That follow-up explaining to him why it's not going to work. He's like, okay, now I know if I bring him a deal, whether it's a heavy lifter or not, one, he can get it done creatively, so I could probably bring him some different deals. Two, he's educated. His money is ready to go to work. He knows what he's doing, so I can bring him a deal because, these brokers, they're not selling 85 deals a year. They're selling 3 or 5. So they don't want to waste time going down a path on a 6-month contract for a deal to fall apart because that's half the year.
Yeah, exactly.
No check. When they have the right guy, then they roll their sleeves up and then they see how they can get it done. Because in the end, it doesn't matter 1.7 or 1 million. That guy's commission doesn't change that much in the difference of price. It's more important about getting it done. So doing that and just hanging in there. And the other thing, like I said, Chris asked a question. I was going to the follow up. But it's like anything else. You can't get attached. You can't fall in love with any deal because they're all going to fall apart. But if this broker can show you a pipeline of 4, 5, 6 more, that deal may have worked. But one of those other ones could be just as good, and it's just on to the next. Now, maybe in 6 months you'd ask that broker, hey, whatever happened with Mrs. Jones, right? Maybe he says, oh, you know what? I'll give her a call and find out. But you can't fall in love with anything. I think that's a big thing. I mean, we had the mobile home team in our office. Came into my office earlier today and, he's harping on this deal. I'm like, you're spending, 20, 30 minutes trying to make this work. Go make 10 more cold calls.
Yeah.
Go pick up the phone and call 10 more people. There may be a different deal there. Like, don't fall in love with a deal because you're going to end up chasing, chasing something that doesn't exist.
I am guilty of that sometimes.
Everyone does it. I mean, people fall in love with things.
Tough. But because you spend so much fucking time looking at one thing, you're like, this fucker has to work.
Yeah. Is that different for you than the single family, or are you the same way?
No, I get attached. I'll get attached to a multifamily for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Single family is, it's all just numbers to me. And there's so many addresses flying around. I couldn't even tell you all the addresses. Yeah. Like we have 35 houses under construction right now. I couldn't even tell you the addresses. But
with just because you've been doing it longer and it better and it's the numbers work or they don't, or do you think there's significantly more inventory, so there's significantly more deals to look at? So if it's all right, if this one's there, I know there's 20 more multifamily. There's maybe 5 of maybe 10 other 20 unit properties you can even look at.
Both. Yeah, there's so many more single family home deals out there than the multifamily. So multifamily, I'll be looking at 1 to 3 deals at any given point in time, and I'm like, one of these fuckers has to work. Single family home.
Yeah, all the time.
We do that in the office. It's we're sitting there. Some days I sit here, I'm like, I'm eating cat food next month. There's no way. I can't. It's July. I think the other day I was like, there's no way we're buying another deal this year. Like, I hate everything on the board. No one's sending me anything because I shit on every deal I get badly. So exactly. And the single family side, you get it, right? When you first start and you're flipping stuff, I assume you get more attached to it because it's more of a personal project.
Yeah.
But you're running a turnkey business. You don't give a fuck. It's like, I got to buy it at 20 or it's not going to work. Done deal. It's and that it's just harder on the multifamily side because there's so much less inventory.
Yeah.
So you fall in love with a deal over 6 months. It's tough to this one. It doesn't work, and you sit there, you're like, but if I do that, and if I can get this, and
that's when it gets tricky.
It does. It gets hard.
Well, I mean, when we had the 4 Jacksonville deals under contract, it was like there wasn't enough hours in the day, and now it's
the deal's closed.
Yeah, and we closed 3 out of the 4. We do have the Columbus deal, but now it's like you kind of spend some hours like is there anything we have to do? Like we kind of look at each other and we're like, are we forgetting something? Like, it's lucky we have another deal under contract, or else I think we could just not come in for half the day.
Yeah, no, golf would definitely be a good option.
But it's just, sometimes you have 10 deals you're working on at one time and you spend 10 hours in the office all week. Yeah. And then just some days you're like, there's just no real deal.
I know. I get the question. I'm sure you do too from new investors. And even, what does your day look like? Well, it depends. Sometimes I'm underwriting 50 deals. Other times I'm, sitting there playing, some stupid game on my phone. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And it's the ebbs and flows of being a business owner and entrepreneur. And it does get really scary though, when you look at your to-do list, you're like, well, I fucking did everything. I guess I should do my laundry. Like, there's nothing else to do. And it does get scary, especially when you're a small shop. And I would still consider us a small shop too, 2, 3, 4 people. And it's like, yeah, some weeks there's nothing, and we have 50 projects under construction. We don't have any money, so all we have to do is sell. All the stuff that has professional photos has been sold, so I'm literally just sitting here waiting for stuff to finish renovation to get photos. That's crazy. And there's not much that we can do. We don't want to you don't want to like go the extra mile, and because it could put you underwater, and you don't want to over leverage. So game, right? So, and trying to keep everything slowly moving upwards, and it's the ebbs and flows.
No, I hear you. So what does the future hold? Like, are you going to continue to focus on, the turnkey and build the rentals for yourself on the side? Are you going to incorporate multifamily as, the syndication like we do? You're going to shift over? What do you, how do you today? Because I know it changes all the time. We change our minds every other Tuesday. What do you see going forward?
So turnkey business, we'll do 100 homes this year. I want to keep scaling that up. I think I can build it up even more to 200, 300 homes. And then it may just be too many people. So I think continue to scale it up while the deals are still there. Again, who knows what's going to happen with the market, if people are just going to be super scared about real estate or investing or whatever. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think that there's still room to grow with the teams that I currently have without adding any more markets. So continue to scale that. Couple hundred homes a year. And then with the multifamily side, continue investing in that, continue to do larger projects. So this year, my goal was 100 single families and then 100 units of apartments. If we had that 52 unit, we would have been really close to our number. But again, like you guys said, it's really hard nobody's sending me deals either right now. And it's really hard to, go out there and find deals and analyze the deals and for deals that make sense, because everybody and their mom's looking for multifamily. So yeah, the goal is to get into more multifamily syndication and do larger projects like you guys are doing.
Oh, good. It's funny you mentioned that everyone's doing it. I saw like a stupid post the other day. The photo of the guy with the coffee cup that's like changed my mind or whatever. It was like syndication's the new wholesaling. I was dying. It was
it's
so funny.
Crazy, because I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day about this exactly. I said, think about what's happened since 2013 and 14. In 2014, it was like, yeah, let's flip houses. That was like the hot thing that was, everybody was doing. And the multifamily was so new. Now, when I say so new, people have been syndicating apartments for 50 years.
Yeah.
But now I walk into like these events, and even our own event, and I have people come over to me and they're like, well, yeah, I heard I could buy a 250 unit like out of the box. I'm like, what? Like, where are you getting the financing? How much money do you have in the bank? It's a personal question, but you got $8 in the bank. You've never done a deal. You are not going to be able to do a 250 unit.
No, for sure.
But now everybody looks at that. You're right. I mean,
well, because they're buying crazy. There's literally syndication courses. These people will spend $5,000 on a syndication course. They've never invested in real estate before. They'll learn how to syndicate. They'll go to the networking event because they're told to go to the networking event to raise money or meet other syndicators. And then they're like, yeah, I'm looking at all these deals all out of state, like in Texas and Florida. I'm like, okay, are you going to sign on the loan? No, I have somebody who's going to do that. Okay. And then how much money how are you going to put the earnest money? Who's going to do that? Oh, sponsor. It's like at the end of the day, they're going to get like 1% of the deal, and they're just going to get a deal finder fee.
So it's amazing. People come to you and they bring you a deal. They bring no value whatsoever except an address.
Yeah.
And then you're like, nah, I'll give you like $10,000. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I thought I can get like 50% of this. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm only going to do 50% of the work. You do the rest. And they look at you like you're ripping me off. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm being extremely fair with you.
And like a marketed deal through a national firm.
I love it. A broker deal. They're like, oh, I got this deal. I'll loop it. They're like, hey, check this one out. I'm like, what do you want to do with that? It's 87% overpriced. I don't know. What do you mean? You wrote it? I'm like, you're underwriting it to an 18% expense ratio. Like, and it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was like, what do you, like, how do you want me to do? Now, I used to be, I joke about, I actually said for our podcast, I'm going to start shitting on everybody because I used to be the opposite. I was so, yeah, you could do it. Go for it. Now, like my events, we've been doing our events for 2 years plus. Yeah. In the beginning of the event, I'm like, anyone can do this. Now I'm like, you have no fucking shot. Trust me. Like, save yourself the time and effort. Like, go to Tahiti for a month. It's so much better spent than trying to, syndicate an apartment. It's like syndication, such a sexy word. I'm like, dude, it's not. It's
and even before buying their own deal, like even if somebody went and bought a 4-unit and then they were like, I own a 4-unit, but I'm looking to get into a 20-unit, but I want to bring on some partners. Like, say that. Don't say your first real estate investment is going to be a syndication. Like, nobody fucking knows you, first of all. And now you're going to go to networking events and just pitch syndication. And I mean, I'm never going to invest in your syndication.
I love that too. They bring, the amount of things that I get sent to me, and it's funny. Like Chris sits right across from me, and like I got another call with an idiot coming up in 10 minutes that has a 230 unit in Nowhereville, and he thinks it's like best deal in the world. It's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. And then I mean, we've seen it too, just with mobile homes. We've been talking about for how long? A year and a half, and only in the last 8-9 months really have we started, and just in the last 4 or 5 months it's exploded. And it's just like everybody's a little bit hypocritical, because I went from single family flipping, failed, single family rentals, failed, into multifamily. So a little bit hypocritical, but it's like everybody's going along and going to the next hot thing, and it's just like, okay, maybe that means syndication is just gonna go away. And
I hope so.
Yeah, you and me both. I'd say it all the time. Like, let everybody get shiny object syndrome and go on to the next best thing, because then the deals will start coming back to reality. Because right now we're underwriting deals, and I just keep the pricing is crazy. I'm like, who's going to pay that? And then 6 months later, it sells. You're like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be kidding me. Then you go to sell one of our deals, and they're like, no, we're never going to get that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, the whole wholesaling too. I'll get DMs all day long. How do I start investing in real estate? I want to wholesale. And I'm like, where are you? LA. And I'm like, well, do you have $25,000 a month to spend on direct mail? That's the only way you're going to get a fucking wholesale deal here.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you anything about wholesaling. Go follow these couple guys who are wholesaling
all the time.
It's like, dude, people don't realize how much work it is. I was in Chicago 2 weeks ago. My buddy only buys off-market deals. He was showing me his phone, and every day they go drive around and collect addresses to pull the phone numbers of, and they cold call those people. Mm-hmm. And then they're on a list on a repeat every 14 days. They're getting, and he had on his phone, he would track where he would drive and all this kind of stuff. And he would drive hours every single day to look at all the nasty houses, put those on a list. And he just had like probably 1,000 addresses in his phone of properties that he drove by, took notes. And he's like, this is how you buy, even just 3 to 4 deals a month with fucking wholesaling. And I'm like, holy shit, man. Like,
that's what I tell people too. Like where we live in New York, like it's just, I'm like, you need a $20,000 budget if you want to be competitive, or get in your car and go drive around. Driving around, you'd be more successful. But, people read a course, or they read an article or a Bigger Pockets post, and no, you can put a deal under contract and make $50,000 like that. I'm like, yeah, but there's gotta be a unique situation about that deal. But that's the way to do it. In these super expensive markets, don't waste your time cold direct mailing, because you're never going to be competitive. You're going to spend $500 a month. You're going to get the guy that got your letter. He has 97 other letters. You're not going to buy it at the right price. The best way to do it in super expensive markets is get off your ass, get in your car and drive around, or go knock on doors. That's it.
Door knocking too. Yeah.
That's it. That's the only way it works in super, competitive markets, because you're never going to compete trying to capture market share from some of these massive companies. Especially guys in California or Chicago or New York or Miami. There are guys that'll literally take a 5, 6, 7% return they think, how many people at our events ask like, wow, I'm going to buy this $430,000 house, put in $200,000. I'm going to rent it. I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
What are you going to make? You're going to make 5%. Like, okay, fine, do it. I'm not going to tell you not to, but
5% if you don't have to fix the roof next year.
Exactly. If something goes wrong, you're fucked.
Yeah, $200 a month.
Yeah. Exactly. But people don't know.
Yeah.
Especially in the big markets, they have no clue, and they think that's a good deal because someone told them to buy real estate. But it's
or they look at the dollars like, oh, I make
exactly
$400 a month or $1,000 a month. If they're here you can rent the house for $4,000. So I mean, you can probably net $500,000 a month if you don't have super high expense. You probably net $3,000 a month if you got nothing really going on.
Yeah.
And if you buy it all cash, there's tons of people that own homes all cash and rent them out, and they're like, "Oh, I make $3,000 a month. That's great," which actually isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Look, if that's the situation you're in, and you want the house across the road, and you make an extra $40,000 a year, I mean.
Yeah,
who am I to judge?
Yeah,
right?
I'm not nitpicking. I'm not nitpicking.
No, and wasn't saying.
We're both of us. I think we're shooting for the person that has no experience, and they want to start wholesaling in downtown LA or those markets. It's not going to happen. I mean, you're doing 100 houses a year and multifamily, and he's he lives there. He's not doing it there. He's like, I'm doing it somewhere else because I'm not going to be competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll go to literally $25,000. I've talked to people $25,000 a month just with the direct mail, and they're doing one deal a month.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then people are, I don't know, too, like flipping houses in LA also is extremely crazy. So the girl who works for me now, she handles all my sales, like she's a transaction coordinator type person. She used to flip in LA. She did one project here. Let's say the profit is, like you were saying, Chris, like, oh, they look at the bottom line return. Yeah, it said $100,000 bottom line profit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this is fantastic. We're going to make $100,000. Okay, but first of all, they had to get hard money. There was 5 partners involved. Each of them put $20,000 in. So their $20,000 turned into, $25,000 or $27,000 or $30,000 at the end of the day. So all that work 12 months later, after their profit, they had some big items come up, of course. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, all of them walked away with like $5,000 to $10,000 of profit at the end of the day. Cause now you have to have, nobody can go and fund for their first real estate investment, go get hard money, put $200,000 down for the gap and fund these things and think they're going to make $100,000. It's super hard. You're going to need partners and other people to help fund those deals. And so that's even super difficult in LA too. Even with the flipping, even when the numbers are that big, it's, when you look at it at the end of the day, it's like, how much are you actually taking home? It's, is it really worth all that time and effort and driving and fucking?
It's not.
That's the biggest thing. Like you said, the 100,000 looks sexy. Split it 84 ways, and it's not that. I tell people all the time, you got to look at the time and effort that goes into these deals. That's more important than the actual dollars, because if you have $20,000 to your, and that's what you want to put into the deal, and you're going to walk away with, an extra $3,000 or whatever it is, you're going to put so much time in for that. Don't do that. That's how you have to evaluate what you're doing. How much hours are you going to put into this to make X? Forget an 80% return or a 5% return. How many hours are going to go in, and what is the dollars going to look like for your time? That's more important. So go do it with someone that knows what they're doing, or partner, or bring value to somebody is way more important than the total dollars, because you're never going to get 100% of the total dollars unless you're the only, you do it all by yourself. But it typically doesn't work that way.
Yeah. The other thing too I see is a lot of people, whether it's flipping, wholesaling, who knows what, they're always looking at like what you make as a profit, not as like a revenue of a business. Mm-hmm. There's other expenses that go into it to operate that business, and nobody looks at it like, oh, I can make 20,000. Okay, well, there we go. All I was saying was, for it just blanked out for anybody that's listening and didn't see it. For when I see people that are like wholesale and flipping, they look at like what I can make per house as like profit. They're like, oh, I can make 20,000. I can make 50,000. When, even if that's the case, right? Let's say you could do a house, you can make $20,000 a month. You're bringing in $20,000 a month. It's what's your cost on that. They don't look at it as a business. They don't look at it as a top line revenue. They say, oh, I'm making X per month.
Correct.
But if it costs you $25,000 a month in direct mail, you're losing money every month. It doesn't matter what you bring in. Yeah. It's so funny. Like, a lot of my friends and people that I'll talk to that aren't really like in the business or finance world will like be somewhere and it's super busy, like bars or restaurants. They'll be like, oh, this place must be raking it in. I'm like, yes, they are bringing in a lot of money, but you have no idea what it costs them to operate or their lease or what else is going on.
Yeah.
And it's just a different mindset that a lot of people that are just starting off and they're like, oh, I can do wholesale. And they saw it, whether it's an Instagram or a Facebook ad or something stupid, they get sold on a, $20,000 a month. It's the same thing you see. Like I get the ads all the time for like drop shipping. They're like, oh, seven figures a month. And I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. But one, you're probably lying, or it was one great month. And two, what did it cost you?
It was December.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was December.
The rest of the year is shit.
But it's great. I could go to the store, right? And I could buy everything for market price, sell it online for half price, and I could show a top line revenue of $50 million, but I'm losing $100 million every year. So people don't think in terms of that. And that's why people, that's why it's, I've seen you do it. You say, what do I need to get started? $20,000, $25,000. And people are like, oh, why do you say that? And you have to like kind of break it down for them, but it gets, very repetitive, and it's a shame that it's not more spoken about. And, but it's, clickbait for people to sell their courses. So obviously they're not going to talk about that.
The big thing right now too is the whole Airbnb bullshit. So
I've not seen that.
That's the new one. You see it all in that. I see that all the time now. It's, how to make money on Airbnb vacation rentals and, use this profit calculator on Airbnb. It's like that just doesn't even look like a good idea to me, but now that's people love that.
It's a big thing. And it's like, and the people are like, oh no, I'm not going to buy turnkey from you, Antoine. I want to do vacation rentals and buy A-class. I'm like, it's a great time to buy A-class properties.
A-class vacation. That's like the first thing. Like I want to watch all that stuff sell. And when the market crashes, just go pick that up for pennies on the dollar. I'll have houses at all the lakes in the world, right? Because who wants to buy top of the market A-class vacation rentals? That's like the definition of failure.
Yeah, and it's not in markets like New York or LA. Probably, it's probably in Memphis or I see that's the new one I see all the time now. Use my Airbnb calculator. I'm like, what? I've not seen that. I probably will now that we've spoken about it because your phone listens to everything. But I'm sure now, thanks to you two, I'm gonna have
it's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's like I get DMs constantly about it. Like, no, I'm just gonna do. Bro, I don't need to rent out I don't want to buy turnkey where it's like $700 a month rent. I can rent it on Airbnb for $4,000 a month. And I'm like, $3,500 in expenses too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or $4,000 in June. And then the rest of the year, like, I'm like, you don't understand. Like you can't, but you buy a ski resort in the middle of the summer. It's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. The one Airbnb thing that I did hear that I did kind of like was a guy was going to house hack a 4-unit, 2 units as 12-month leases, 1 unit as Airbnb.
Yeah, we did
to help get that cost up. I was like, that's actually pretty smart because you should. And he's like, I'm going to do all the cleaning and all that, so it keeps my expenses low. I was like, that's probably smart because you probably can do, double the rent for a 12-month lease per month. You probably will cash flow positive depending upon where you are. I was like, that's pretty smart. I was pretty impressed when I heard that.
We did it on an 80-unit complex in Charleston. We had the model unit because you needed a model when it was not. So we used the model as an Airbnb. So, you rent it out once or twice a month and it pays for itself. So you don't have like a model concession all the time. Like sometimes, right? But that's an 80-unit complex.
Yeah.
1 unit's not going to throw it into a tailspin.
No.
You go buy a single, a 4-bed, 2-bath house and, on some really high class lake and think you're going to rent it out for $5,000 a month. That shit's not going to work.
Yeah.
It may work for a little while, but like when the market goes sideways, try and sell your vacation rental. Like there's a huge market for that.
When everybody loses their job, I think they're all going to go on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, the millennials nowadays, they might actually do that. They may decide they don't want to work and just go on vacation. There's why go to work?
Yeah, I didn't tell you, by the way, I'm going on vacation, ski resort in the summer.
There you go.
I'm curious, just from a personal standpoint, how's it been? Because I know you've been you've been super active on Instagram and I think LinkedIn and YouTube and things of that nature. How's it changed for you? With content and connections and kind of gaining a reputation that way. How's that changed for you over the last year or 2 years?
It's really changed over the last 2 months. So I started going heavy on social media last year in January. Just started posting content, meaning like every single day, posting on story plus post on Instagram. So that has kind of scaled up. Now I have like 40 something thousand followers on Instagram now. And then, so that's kind of helped me.
And they're all going to subscribe to the podcast, right?
Yeah, they're also going to subscribe to this podcast, not mine. And leave it all 5-star reviews too. I'm giving away free t-shirts to everybody who does it.
Perfect.
But so, I mean, it has changed a lot. It's put me in contact with a lot of people that I wouldn't have been in contact with. So like I went to Chicago, I posted like, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago, swipe up to meet me or whatever. And I was in Chicago and I met with a bunch of people in Chicago. One of those people's now wants to invest in apartments with us. So, all right, terrific. You know, I'll put you on the list for when we get our syndication going or whatever the case may be. So it has put me in contact with a whole lot of people. I mean, I've sold houses through Instagram DM. I've found houses from wholesalers that have reached out to me on Instagram DM. I met you on Instagram. I mean, I think it's worth it for anybody who has their target set and they're doing something. For somebody who's still trying to find out what that target is, I wouldn't recommend any time on it until you know what the fuck you're doing and what you want to talk about.
Yeah, that's important.
Because I'll get asked a lot like, hey, I'm trying to figure out real estate. Should I start posting on social? I'm like, what are you going to post about? They're like, I don't know. Wholesaling, flipping, Airbnbs, and mobile home parks. I'm like, well, that's really fucking confusing.
Yeah.
So like, because Instagram, what people don't understand, it still has to be like a one kind of, even though it's maybe a personal brand, it still needs to be a theme to it. So, you know, real estate entrepreneur, real estate investor who does single family, you know, has flips single family and buys multifamily apartment buildings, right? And it's kind of like, okay, this is what the theme is, and this is what going on in his daily life. Exactly. But then if I was going to throw in like, oh, my swimming class that I take every Monday, then people are like, well, now I can't keep track. Is he a swimmer or is he a real estate investor? So like I've cut out a lot of like sports and also like, cause I play soccer a lot. So I don't post anything about that. And then I'll post, or not really, 99% of the time I won't. And then also like, it's just try to keep it all in one theme. And it's about real estate investing out of state. And that's kind of what my theme is for my page. Right. So people can come to your page and expect what, know what to expect when they do come land at your page and they know what they're going to get into.
It's funny you mentioned that, by the way, because I had no idea I played all the way through college, and I didn't know until like a prison or something like that, right?
Yeah. We played in a prison a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Wild.
That's crazy.
That's definitely different. It's just funny you brought it up because I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I had no idea. And I was actually going to hit you up, and then I was like, something came up and more important things to do. It's just funny you mentioned that because we're obviously, just getting started with a lot of that stuff. So it's just interesting to hear, what other people's experiences are and if it's helped or not helped. Do you think it's been, worth your time or something that, you wish you would have done sooner, or you do more, or you think it's probably, maybe helped a little bit, but not a ton?
No, it's helped a lot. And I think it's only just begun to. I think it starts to compound after you hit a certain number of people, right? And there's like a bunch of cool shit. Yeah. And there's like a bunch of cool shit you can do now with like, so you guys like, oh, you've been running events for 2 years, right? So like, let's say your event is wherever, New York, like Manhattan or whatever. And let's say that I'm coming to your event. Now I can run ads to all people who are my followers or have engaged with my content over the last 12 months who live close to that event space. And it's like, hey, my name is Antoine. You followed me or watched one of my videos. I'm coming to New York. I'm going to be at this event. Swipe up to sign up. And so like, that's what I did to go to Chicago, and I just ran ads on it, $5 a day, nothing. Yeah. And had my day was fucking slammed. And it was cool because it was like, all right, if I'm going to be here, I have this dead time. I might as well be, using that dead space to meet people, see if I can help them or if they can help me in any way, and see if we can do business together in some way today or, in 5 years.
Awesome. So just to, kind of plug that, where are you traveling to next?
Well, I'm going to San Francisco tomorrow morning for some meetings and stuff like that, meeting up with some clients and other investors. Then the week after I go to Portland, then the week after I go to Memphis, and the week after I go to Cleveland. So it's a lot of traveling going up coming up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's probably a really good place to wrap it up. It's been pretty close to an hour. But just for everybody listening, if they want to get, in touch with you, what's the best place for people to reach you, get in touch with you?
Sure. So Instagram is probably the best place. I try to answer my DMs as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
My username's Martel Antoine, MartelAntoine. And then my website too has my email and all that stuff. The website is martelturnkey.com.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to drop it in the notes.
Yep.
Cool. But thanks for coming on. This was awesome.
Absolutely.
I think you gave people and us a lot of great information. It's great to hear your side of the story. So thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.